Joe Biden backstabs while Kevin McCarthy leads. The political machinations are in high gear this spring as we head into what should be a relatively quiet summer recess season for Congress. Alas, it will be neither quiet nor peaceful this summer on Capitol Hill. The great debate over raising America's debt ceiling is just beginning. The financial well-being of every American today is at stake. There are ghouls on the left and the right who yearn to see America careen off this fiscal cliff just so the two squabbling sides can try to pin the blame for the disaster on the other side before the crashing car reaches its destructive destination at the bottom of that fiscal cliff. But there will be no real winners here. Only gradations of defeat, devastation, and destruction if America's leaders can't set aside their idiotic political differences and work for the common good. For many months, we feared the Republicans would give in to their darker natures and listen to the crazed schemes of extremists like Representative Lauren Boebert from Colorado, who very badly want to see America default on its debt so they could blame the Democrats. Republican Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy of California, is the weakest leader of the House in recent history. His power was gutted by a vicious and short-sighted cadre of elected Republicans who placed their own egos and desires for greater power ahead of the greater good. Many analysts, including the author of this article, were immediately convinced that the speaker battle in January was a preview of the fight over the debt ceiling set for this summer. Judging from the outcome of that fight, it seemed apparent that McCarthy would be led around by the nose by a faction of extremists who didn't want to fix anything. They just wanted to watch the world burn. Heading into this summer, sensing McCarthy's weakness, President Joe Biden and his handlers concocted a scheme of their own. Refused to meet with McCarthy. Then humiliated McCarthy by telling the world that he'd only negotiate with the Speaker over the debt ceiling if the weak Speaker could get legislation passed in the House outlining how they would raise the debt ceiling. Biden wasn't serious about negotiating with McCarthy. The 46th president and his handlers, the real power behind the throne, assumed that McCarthy would never be able to get the House GOP to agree on anything related to raising the debt ceiling. Yet McCarthy prevailed. Yes, it was a slim majority that McCarthy got for his legislation. Of course, the legislation will be likely killed in the Senate, but that's beside the point. McCarthy's leadership abilities were challenged by a recalcitrant president. Biden bluffed about being willing to negotiate with McCarthy on the debt ceiling, and McCarthy deftly called Biden's bluff. The House GOP bill explicitly allows for the debt ceiling to be raised in exchange for deep cuts to government spending. This has always been the general Republican position on raising the debt ceiling. Everyone, including Joe Biden, understood this. And now that McCarthy and the House GOP have called Joe Biden's bluff, Biden is stabbing McCarthy in the back because, just like Representative Boebert and the other House GOP lunatics, Biden doesn't want to actually raise the debt ceiling. He's making a cynical political calculation that the Democrat-loving media and most Americans will ultimately blame the GOP for taking the country off the fiscal cliff. In fact, given Biden's recent reprehensible actions, the 46th president wants America's economy to crash and burn so that he can make the improbable case that his political opponents are to blame for the perennially bad economy he's presided over. Kevin McCarthy wasn't really anyone's choice to be Speaker. Republicans view him as a rhino. Democrats believe he's very weak. McCarthy himself was forced to give far too much power away from his office to the very forces on the far right who damaged his bid for Speaker of the House in January. Yet McCarthy still has managed to endure the endless rounds of humiliation and govern. He has managed thus far to keep his factious caucus together. It's very impressive. Going forward, the future of the Republic is bleak. There are many cable news hosts who refuse to believe that anyone other than the extremists in the two parties want to see America default on its debt. But Joe Biden himself is an extremist. While he's been billed by his supporters as being a moderate, the fact of the matter is he's always been on the hard left. As a senator, he was proudly part of the Soviet-backed nuclear freeze movement. Biden supported the most left-wing social programs. As vice president, it was Biden who pushed former President Barack Obama, kicking and screaming, mind you, into advocating for gay marriage. In 2001, Matthew Engel of The Guardian described Biden as being on the eccentrically unpredictable wing of the Democratic Party. 20 years later, Biden was made the 46th president. Part of this is because the Overton window in American politics has decisively shifted to the left. But that doesn't negate the fact that Biden is an extremist. He presents himself as the curmudgeonly, lovable grandpa who just wants peace and stability. In reality, though, Biden is taking for himself far too much power than what the framers of the Constitution wanted. Now that McCarthy has shown he can meet Biden's baseline for beginning negotiations on raising the debt ceiling, Biden is waffling on his previous tentative agreement to negotiate. The Republicans must show the American people that it's not the insanity of the handful of far-right representatives in the House that's risking our nation's fiscal security, but instead the extremism of Joe Biden and his fellow Democrats. They do not have our best interests at heart, despite whatever the Democrats claim heading into the 2024 presidential election. It's now obvious that the Democrats want America to default. The Republicans need to both highlight the Democrats' rank hypocrisy while also figure out a way to prevent the ultimate default from happening this summer, as neither party is going to negotiate in good faith or a timely manner to prevent the complete collapse of the American economy.